I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I'm Sean Sims, the host of the Outsiders podcast. We're here today and we're going to do some deep dive, and I have two special ladies, guest co-hosts, and that is Mary Hughes, Marcia Reeves Jews, the Hughes and Jews connection we have on today. And ladies, introduce yourself. Mary, introduce yourself, and then Marcia.
Oh, Happy New Year to everyone who's listening, especially Happy New Year to you, Sean, for doing such a great job and just hanging on and bringing forth the truth. I may it continue in 2025. And Marcia, it's a pleasure to be on this show with you, the first show of 2025 with Sean Sims. I have not had the pleasure of meeting you, but I have seen you at some of the protests that's been out and around the city. So it is a pleasure to be here. And I will turn it over to Marcia.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Sean, for bringing me on the show. And, I think that it's really wonderful to have Mary Hughes here. Mary, you've had the experience to know the city very well, so, we look forward to learning more about what all you're doing. I think that this is really important that you created this, Sean, because there's a lot that we need to cover and to be certain that the rest of our communities really understand the mission and why it's so important. So I'll turn it over to you, Sean, and I'll lead the way.
As you can hear, everyone, they're very lovely ladies, and they sound really good too on the radio or the podcast. I'm saying radio, I sound like Doc. This is a podcast. So I want to touch, ladies, I know the football thing, I have to talk about it. I have to talk about the Ravens because I love my Ravens. As you can see in the background, I have all this Ravens paraphernalia. So I'm a big Ravens fan, and looks like we're sitting atop of the AFC North, and the division looks like we're going to take the division. We got to finish off with the Browns, who we lost to somehow earlier in the season, but I think we're going to whoop on the Browns the same way we whooped on the Squealers, and 34-17. I think we're going to do the Browns even worse. So the Ravens, go Ravens, and I want to deep dive into what's been going on. It looks like yours truly is getting a lot of mic time on WCBM, WOLB, Kim Klasick show. She was a very good host to have me on the show, the interview I did with her. Found things went a smidge different with WOLB 1010. I'm going to play a clip of what WBAL, haven't been on WBAL yet, but so that, and I know Marcia has just got in town from New York. She was there for a little bit, and she really doesn't know what's going on with the Legionnaires and the Rats and the Circuit Courthouse and all. So we're going to bring her up to speed on what's going on. Mary, of course, is well aware of what's going on. So I just want to play an intro, Marcia, so you can at least get an idea of what's going on with this Legionnaires and these government buildings. Okay, so let me go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
And play that and cue that up.
One person reported experiencing symptoms and got tested. Baltimore's District Court on East Fayette Street and two Circuit Court buildings, Mitchell and Cummings, were closed on Friday due to elevated levels of Legionella in the water, a bacteria that can cause Legionnaire's disease, a serious type of pneumonia. On Thursday, those buildings reopened, and Ed Hershon says there weren't just signs when he entered the Mitchell Courthouse.
The water fountains are still wrapped up in plastic and taped off so you can't use them.
But Patrick Moran, president of the union that represents several thousand workers in these buildings and other buildings that have had issues with this bacteria, says closing water fountains is not good enough.
Either close the building down, or if they're going to do something like that, they need to provide people every single other piece of equipment, resources, or whatever it might be in order to deal with the situation and mitigate the problem.
In addition to the 3 court buildings, last month saw 4 buildings in the State Center complex and 2 district courthouses with Legionella bacteria in the water supply. The water testing was precautionary, as there is no state requirement to test for it. And it was Mayor Brandon Scott who recommended closing the court buildings on Friday out of an abundance of caution. A key point, finding Legionella in the water does not mean people will get sick, though one person experienced symptoms and got tested.
We're aware of the fact that someone was concerned about having issues and symptoms.
Moran says it comes down to desperately needed infrastructure projects being repeatedly delayed.
There's a $1.5 billion backlog on infrastructure that successive administrations have not dealt with. That's the reality of it.
Well, here's the thing. They said, oh, well, Legionnaires, you may not even get sick. No, you actually die. So I don't understand that WBL report where what was said about getting sick. No, people die. I believe it's 15-20% as death rate, especially if you're over 50. So this nonsense that was said, well, if you can just drink it and you're not even going to get sick, that's a bunch of Bravo Sierra. I don't even know why they put that out. Marcia, just hearing this, what do you think of that?
I'm trying to contain myself, but those of you who know me know that I have, I don't take kindly to insanity. And for this city to jeopardize the lives and the health of the employees that are going into these buildings is unacceptable. And the governor and the state's attorney should be all in this. The mayor should have been on top of this when it first started, when it was first acknowledged. And why don't we have a program where people are actually checking the levels within these buildings? There has to be something that's going on, like when you have mold, you need to be able to track it. What has the mayor said about what he's going to do?
Well, that's a good question. This is what I want to do, because I want to get to Mary. She actually was on WOLB last week. I was on December the 23rd. December the 23rd just happened to be my grandmother's birthday. She passed away in 2014. So that just happened to be the 10-year anniversary of my grandmother's passing away. So I was a little amped up doing the show, because you have people in the building where people are getting, could die from Legionnaires, and there's rat infestation on top of that, and rats can cause, and they do carry, that's a fact, Legionnaires. So I want to play my interview with WOLB, and I want to deep dive that, and I want to get Mary's take on this interview. So I'm going to go ahead and cue this up. And this is Meet the People, December the 23rd.
Sir, that you continue to do. Yeah. So let's get into this conversation. So you were instrumental in breaking the story. I want you to tell it. I want folks to understand what led to you breaking the story. So you broke a story in reference to the Legionnaire disease going on at the Circuit Court building.
Yes, what's going on is there's information that the Circuit Court for Baltimore City we do not want the citizens of Baltimore City, or the state of Maryland for that matter, to understand or to know what is the premise, what is the crux of the real problem. Now, Legionnaires is a symptom of a problem, I believe, specifically at the Mitchell Courthouse and Cummings Courthouse buildings, because the real story, and this is what we broke. I know that in November, WBL broke that Dave Collins in regards to the Legionnaires and Preston Street and the situation that was going on with Preston Street and those employees And November the 8th to the 13th, now this is back in November, they were actually out of the building and during that period because they had to test. And then they did find Legionnaires in a couple of buildings. But the real story behind certainly the Mitchell Courthouse Building is a rat infestation. There's a major rat infestation taking place in the courthouse buildings. And on December the 3rd, I got in touch with Regional Management Pest Control. And they did confirm with me that there is a rat infestation. And I was told that it's been, and this is a quote, it has been ongoing. And people have to understand something. Rats, they carry the Legionnaire bacteria in them, and through urinating in the pipes water system, which they are in the Mitchell Courthouse Building for sure, that's where the Legionnaires can spread if they contain or if they have that disease. And the time frame, which I asked, what's the time frame for this to be cured, the rat infestation? And I was told that they don't know and it could be indefinitely. So this is a major story, which for some reason, other than Kim Klasik's show, letting me get the message out, and your show, of course, now, Jason, it's been squashed. It's been squashed in the media. The media outlets are well aware of the rat infestation. They're well aware of the issue. And even if you go into the system and you drain it, the rats are still there. So they could very possibly be carrying the Legionnaire disease in them. The system cleans out. Guess what happens, folks, if the rats are still in there? The Legionnaires and any other disease that the rats carry. And through the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, rodents are known to spread over 35 different diseases to humans. And this includes leptospirosis, which is a bacterial disease causing flu-like symptoms, jaundice and red eye, hantavirus, a severe respiratory disease, tularemia, an illness causing fever, vomiting, rash, so on, typhus, salmonellosis, salmonellosis, I'm trying to pronounce these different diseases, and Legionnaires, which is acquired by inhaling. People don't know this. They're being told, oh, just don't drink the water or don't wash your hands. But they should have a mask on because the droplets can be inhaled. They go in the air as an aerosol. And the ingestion, of course, contaminated water, and rarely, and people need to know this because, again, they're not getting the information. What we are is about truth. What we are is about getting information to people. It doesn't matter what party you're in. I don't believe that. That's a bunch of crap. Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian. Who gives a? Who cares? There's people who are in a situation with the clerk of the court, Xavier Conaway, who changed his name from Washington to Conaway to get elected. He's not informing people, and I have gotten in touch with him multiple times to attempt to talk with him and let him know, you need to let the public know, you're the clerk of the court, you're an elected official, that they're walking into a building that has bacteria, they have Legionnaires. Now it has been shown to have Legionnaires disease on Friday. That story broke. And there's rat infestation as well. And he's not informing the people about what's going on. So this situation, Jason, and folks out there, you need to understand something. There's a cover-up. You're not being told the full story. And that is extremely important.
Well, we want to thank you again for your work and your investigation that you've done.
And it's extremely troubling. Why is there a cover-up? Why is Xavier Washington, because that's what I'm going to call him from now on, Xavier Washington. Why is the clerk of the court, Xavier Washington, covering up the rats being in the building and not letting people know through signs about the Legionnaires? Actually saying Legionnaires on the signs, not just don't wash your hands. Mary, what do you think of this business?
Well, number one, Sean, I thank you for bringing it out. And I think one of the responsibilities of the press, of journalism, is to bring out truth, to uncover truth. Well, the average person would not know unless the journalism, or unless the newspapers, or unless Sean Sims' podcast, WBAL, Fox 45, would seek the truth for the general public to know. Now you brought this out, and you say, why would Xavier do this? And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it loud. Xavier, like most people in city government, is being controlled. He was told not to do what he did. This is not a decision that he came up with. They're all being controlled, whether it's from the mayor or whoever, I do not know. On the other hand, it well may be he doesn't care. One of the things I loved about Kamala and her run for the presidency, her mantra was for the people. If we don't have individuals in these elected offices who have forgotten they're there for the people, and that's the problem. I don't care if it's from the governor's mansion to City Hall. They've forgotten for the people. What good is a building if you don't have people in there who are doing their work, who are administrating things to get things done? A building's a building. However, when it is occupied with people, you got to be concerned about your workers. Well, now, Xavier has someone who's controlling things. I'm not surprised.
Who would that be? Who do you think would be?
Who would that be? Situation. Xavier could be an individual whose heart is cold and he doesn't care. And until things are brought out, people are forced to care or pretend that they care. This is going on. I'm going to say this. I dropped my husband off on Redwood Street, Marshall off of Baltimore, and Redwood at the University of Maryland Eye Clinic. I sat in the car to wait for him rather than go upstairs. I stood there, Sean and Marsha. I saw several rats leave one side of the street over to the other side of the street. I watched this for an hour.
Like a
People
parade?
Were walking up Redwood and screaming and whatever. There is a severe problem of rat infestation in Baltimore City. Someone did a report, I don't know what's channel that before, Fox 45, said that there were 48,000 rats in Baltimore City. Is far more than that. Now, someone's thinking outside the box and saying, we're going to bake them differently. We're going to have a birth control type thing to cut down on this rat population and infection. Took all this time for them to come to some sort of conclusion. And Sean, I'm going to give you credit for this. I think because so much noise was made by it, they had to do something. They weren't listening to the citizens. They came by with their silly little spray for rat control and whatever. It never worked. And when we asked them, why can't we go with something stronger? Well, because of the danger. But we have a rat problem. Take back, I don't know how long ago Stephanie Rollins-Blake was in office, but she had a mandate, never carried out. Whenever there is any type of construction that is going to be done in Baltimore City where you go into the ground, that construction company or those people have to bait for rats first before they go any further. Never happened. So when you have construction going on, they run rapid. They run rapid. So if they would adhere to the policy and the legislation that they put in, we may not have had this problem. But here's the thing. It's interesting that people are there, and Sean, we talked about this before, dealing with DPW. Mm-hmm. There are people who are there that work in a toxic environment that are afraid to speak up because of the loss of their jobs. But the Bible's very clear. I think it's Apostle Paul said, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. And that's what you're doing. That's what Marsha's doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what a lot of us who know people are doing. They are afraid to speak up, so we must speak up. And I feel even if we may get some things wrong here and there, the fact remains there's a problem. The fact remains Xavier said, I don't have the authority to check down this building, the circuit court does. But my problem with this dear man, Xavier Youngboy, that he is that he didn't even take it further to demand it. He's been in office 2 years. He would look like a hero if he said, we've had this problem for decades, but if you give me the opportunity, I'm going to do everything I can to solve this problem. Been here 2 years. Let me continue with this, and this is not going to happen under my watch. I'm going to do everything I can. That makes for a strong-backed young man to do something. Why he would not have the courage to do that, I don't know. Even if someone's telling him to, hey, pipe down, don't say nothing. And I'm telling you, I believe that's part of it. And I understand that. Go ahead, Marsha.
Excuse me, that's part of the challenge. You have so many people who want to protect their job.
Yes.
That's part of the challenge, that, you know, when people are having to be in the position where if I get into this conversation and it is something that the powers that be don't want you to do, but you try to do it, now they're being impacted by their lack of income because they could be fired or they could be put on something else. So what happens is we end up with all of these issues that need to be done, but we're walking in fear opposed to walking in truth.
Exactly.
That this is what needs to be dealt with.
Yep.
The city needs to deal with it. The mayor needs to be on top of it. People's lives are at stake when you start dealing with all kinds of feces and stuff running around. That stuff is not healthy. And people then have to go home to their families, and they're impacting their family. If it were me, I've got my grandchild and my daughter in this house. And you mean if I go to work and I'm around all this negative, all these germs floating around the building, and then I'm going to impact my child because I might have something on my feet? This is unacceptable. And
Marsha, I agree with you. I agree with you.
There needs to be in the middle of this. And all this foolishness, I'm sorry, but see, I've got a family. You have families. This is not acceptable. This stuff needs to be shut down.
Marsha, you're right. You're right. But here's the deal. I cannot. All we can do is raise these people consciousness. We're dealing with the same thing with DPW. Fear paralyzes people. It paralyzes them. And they know that, and they use it to that advantage. So oppressors use that to their advantage. We've seen it all through history. That's why I say that there has to be people who will speak up in spite of those who are in fear. And the more you speak up, the more this comes to front. This is a health issue. It is where's the health department?
It's a major health
It could be
issue.
a life or death issue for
Exactly.
real.
Yes, of course it is.
This is serious.
The point is, the changing of a person's mental capacity has to be raised. Their consciousness has to be raised. And one of the ways we do it is what we're doing now with Sean, with me, and whoever making noise and beating the can. Because certain people are not going to step up. I will say this, however. If the noise is loud enough, if the people who are coming together who perhaps are not affected by this are large enough, people will start saying, enough is enough, I'm standing with it. It's been all through history. I'm standing with the people who want to help me. And I cannot control that man or that woman who's so fearful, who's frightened of losing a job, pays the bills and all this, because that's how the devil works. He puts fear in you, and they know it. Xavier knows it. The mayor knows it. Just put fear. We've heard things about DPW and how they're using the union and using fear against those workers, and they're buying it. Not all of them, but more are buying it than those who are not. So it comes down, it's a health issue, it's a life or death issue, it is. But we have to go where we are. We know that they're not going to stand up right now. And Sean, correct me if I am wrong, but has anybody who is working in any of those buildings for some time or even a short period of time come forth and said anything?
Well, here's the thing. This is what's going on. And I talked to Jason about this. And I'm going to get into this later in the show. But there are people who are whistleblowers. Jason asked me, Sean, can you get some whistleblowers? Can you get a whistleblower? I said, I have a bunch of whistleblowers. But here's the thing. And I'm going to get into this deeper as we go into the show a little bit more, because I was going to touch on this topic. They don't want to come forward because of what they heard on WOLB 1010 AM with what happened. And I want to play this real quick because, Mary, I know you don't have a lot of time, but I want to play what happened, the exchange between myself, Jason, and Xavier Washington. So let me go ahead and cue this up for the people so they can hear What happened? Okay, let's see. Here it is. Cut to.
Sanitizers, and unlike what happened with the Preston Street building, where the employees were removed while they were doing the testing, when they found out that there was a possibility of Legionnaires in the building, Xavier Conaway purposely forced his employees. And Patrick Moran was upset with him. I was upset with him as well, and the citizens of Baltimore should be upset with him. He forced them to stay in the building and work while the testing was taking place. So this is a serious situation of just saying to the people, not only the
And they're still being made to work in the building. Let me continue.
citizens, but the employees, we don't care for you. We really don't. It's just about what I want when I want it, and you have a spoiled child in an office with Frank Conaway. Frank was a friend of mine. I would visit the office, talk with Frank. He would go over his business propositions and things that he was doing. Frank made sure, and people who work at that building, they told me, Jason, they said, you know what, Sean, Frank would never do this. He would get us out of this building. We would have had hand sanitizers. He would not have kept us in a dangerous situation like this, and he did want the building improved. There's asbestos, I believe, and they believe, in the building. There needs to be tests for asbestos as well. And the seriousness of this is seems not to be getting out to people. That's my issue. It just does not seem to be getting out to people, the rat infestation and the seriousness of that building, the defects, and a clerk who is being negligent and derelict in his duty.
And you are tuned in to the Patrick Henderson's Meet the Radio show. We're going to go to the lines in a second, but I have to ask you a question since you did throw a name out. And again, this is a show that we
I like throwing names.
We throw names out. But here's the thing: for all fairness, I want to ask: did you reach out to Xavier, and what was his comment? What was his?
I did. Not only Jason, not only did I reach out to him, okay, phone calls. I have his personal email address. We had talked prior because he was going to come on my podcast. We had a few nice conversations. Then all of a sudden, this guy just doesn't want to come on, can't hear from him. I reached out via email. And Jason, you know me. If I say something, I've got the receipts, brother. I've got the receipts.
There you go. I hear you.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I reached out to young Xavier. Young Xavier and I had a few conversations prior when he first got in the office. He was going to come onto my show, my podcast. I have his personal email address. I've sent information to him. I've sent information to his office. I've emailed him. I've called over and over again regarding this situation, and I have the receipts. And I'll be more than happy to show you the receipts, Jason. And I have not had him reach back to me for a comment, for anything. And to his office, I've emailed him. I've called over and over again regarding this situation, and I have the receipts. And I'll be more than happy to show you the receipts, Jason. And I have not had him reach back to me for a comment, for anything. And as a matter of fact, not only do I have the receipts for Xavier, I have the receipts for the communication for the administrative office of the court. And their communication, folks, Terry Charles and this new guy, Nick Cavey, I sent them questions as well. Have the receipts. In regards to the questions, did you inform your employees to not drink water or wash hands with water because of the possible contamination of Legionnaire disease? I had other questions involving the public, the rat infestation, and the answers that came back to me from Mr. Cavey, Nicholas Cavey, he did not answer my questions. From the regional management pest control, I saw the van there, okay, took a picture of the van, he called them, asked them, are there rats in the building, what's going on? They told me, yes, it's been an ongoing problem. The building does have a lot of problems, but the situation that is so horrible and negligent is him not informing the public about the Legionnaire possibility that there are rats.
That's not true. Not true. Not true.
Yeah. So he's standing and he's telling you that that's not
and
true.
Also,
and we're going to give him the
Well,
benefit
I'll
of the
go
doubt
put the
on that.
receipts out on my podcast. How's that?
well, it is, and I'll say this for all the listeners. I don't know Mr. Sims, but I will say he's...
Stop. Let me stop right there. Now, this is what I have, everyone. My podcast people can see this. What I have, and ladies, when you see the podcast, you can see what I have. I have text message from Xavier Washington, who just said, he said this on December 23rd, WOLB 1010 AM. He does not know me. Now, here's the text message. It's April the 12th. I'm going to sit it right up there. People can see real quick. You can freeze frame it. April the 12th. Good afternoon, Sean. I apologize, but we will have to postpone our interview to a later date. We have a conflict. I can't move for the transition. This is when he first got in office and he was transitioning. Thank you again for the opportunity, and we'll talk soon. Best, Xavier A. Connolly, as you can see. And we talked on the phone as well. As a matter of fact, I met him prior to that, during the election. And he said on the phone, this is his first words to me, "Hello, Mr. Sims, your reputation precedes you." So let me go on.
Someone who has threatened my employees. They've had to actually contact law enforcement because of the threats that's been made against my staff. So,
okay, now, that's called slander and defamation. What
Sean,
I've done.
Can you repeat what he said, because it was a little muffled?
Okay, I'm going to go back real quick. See if I can pull it back. Okay, hold on a second. I got to pull it back. Okay, let me try it. Here we go.
just for all your listeners, I don't know Mr. Sims, but I will say he is someone who has threatened my employees. They've had to actually contact law enforcement because of the threats.
Did you hear that?
Contacted law enforcement because of a threat?
Yeah, he said that I had threatened his employees and that they had to contact law enforcement from the threats. Now, this is what he said.
What threat was he referring to?
Now, I don't know. You have to ask Xavier that, because I can only go off of what he said on live radio.
Jason didn't challenge him on it.
That I was committing a criminal act. Jason shut my mic off, so I couldn't to defend myself. He put my volume down so you couldn't hear me. He shut my mic off so I couldn't defend myself. This happened. Kathy Hughes, darling, we'll be getting in touch with you. Shut my mic off after this elected official committed defamation of character and slander. And here, and you know what? And it sounded odd. And ladies, you got to hear this. And then Mary, I want you, I want you, ladies, and Marcia to comment on this. But I want to say this real quick because this is very important. I said that sounds strange because earlier in the year, I believe around March or was it May? Earlier in the year, somebody put together, and I'm going to show everyone. Somebody put a fake Facebook page. Judy Jacobs, Jacabs. I used to be a skip tracer. I went to find out who is this person who's putting this information. I don't know if anyone sees this picture. If you see this picture, anyone, you know who this lady is. They used her image to make a fake Facebook page. And on this fake Facebook page, this is what it reads. It says, "I have friends who work with the city government who say you physically threaten," that sounds familiar, "and stalk some of the black women in multiple offices." And then I have the clerk of the court, Xavier Washington, saying that I threaten people. And I'm thinking to myself, could this be a correlation? Is it a coincidence that he's using the same language that someone who put together a fake Facebook page? This person, Judy Jacobs, Jacabs, does not exist. I had other people look her up. They said, "Sean, this person doesn't exist." So I'm trying to, and we're going to get to the bottom of this.
The only thing she had on her Facebook page?
No, well, you can't see the picture, but she's from Morgan State, graduated, and lives in Baltimore City, attended Edmondson Westside High School, elementary teacher, retired elementary teacher, didn't say what school. Like I said before, I looked this person up. I've vetted this person.
The only comment that she had on her Facebook was about you?
Another thing she had on the Facebook page is a friend, and only had one friend, oddly enough, and that one friend was Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore City.
Oh, now, she put that on her Facebook?
Yes. Now, the Facebook page is gone, but I did screenshots. So I'm trying to figure out what is going on with this character assassination. Why was my mic cut off? Why was this done? There are rats in the building. Mary, you did read a letter, an email.
I certainly did, and I'll share this with Marsha on last Monday's show.
Yes, could you tell Marsha what happened?
So WLB came on at 11:30, goes off at 1. Patrick Henderson for the people. And I read an email that Sean had sent me from a contractor that had admitted that there were problems in the courthouse, that he was working on that, and there were certain things that had to be done in addition to that. He confirmed, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but his name was
Kevin
there
Paul.
as well,
Kevin Paul.
as well as the name of his company. And it was straightforward, and they would be handling this case and whatever. So I read that on the show, and I said, Jason, obviously, it exists. And according to Jason and according to Sean, Xavier came on that Monday prior saying that there is a problem, but before he said there was no problem.
Well, let me do this. Could you hold on just a second? I want the people to hear this. It's very important that they hear this, and I want to continue with Marsha. Okay.
That's been made against my staff, so that's why I don't respond to this individual, because I don't respect threats to my staff. But I will say though, one thing is clear by my proactive
Sean, if you keep
request
interrupting him, I'm gonna have to put you on hold. Let him get his point. I will allow you.
No one's done anything like that, so why would you even make that up?
Sean, I will allow you a rebut. Let him finish. This does not make.
No, Jason did not let me rebut. Let me continue.
A good radio when we're talking to each other. Go
Let
ahead.
him go and continue his ridiculous lies. Go ahead, kid.
Go ahead.
Tell the public. Go ahead. Shoot out.
Yeah, there were lies that were said, but let me go on.
Yeah, so he's standing and he's telling you that that's not
and
true,
also,
Sean. And we're gonna give him the benefit
Well, I'll
of the
go
doubt
put
on
the receipts out on my podcast. How's that?
well, it is.
Yes, it's been an ongoing problem. The building does have a lot of problems, but the situation that is so horrible and negligent is him not informing.
Accurate that my grandfather was the highest and biggest advocate for the workers and for getting a new building.
And he goes on and on. And I will, on my next show, go into even a deeper dive. Woo! Wait till you people find out the other information. There's more. But I asked him, okay, so you're saying that it's false information? There's false information. And I'm going to play that next time. And he said, yeah, that's false information, that there are rats in the building. So I guess this pest control company.
Did he say that on Jason's show?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Regional Pest Management, Kevin Paul. And I'll play that in more detail next week, because there's more. There's more. Kevin Paul, Service Supervisor, Regional Pest Management. Good afternoon. I'm going to read the email. Good afternoon. This is December 27th. This is 4 days after this interview. There is a rat issue at the Mitchell Courthouse. I cannot give you a date on when it may be free of rats. There is some work that needs to be done by the courthouse. Uh-oh. So they're not doing some work that needs to be done to help to cure the issue? That was all listed in the contract that someone there signed. So there's a contract. I'd like to see that contract and sent back to us. It is going to be a continuing treatment there. That means an ongoing issue, just like I said. So what's going on? What's with the cover-up? Marsha, what do you think of this? Hello, Marsha? Hello. Okay. Mary, what do you think of that? I think we lost Marsha.
I'll try and get her back. I would love to have a comment. Number one, obviously, I'm going to say this. You cannot continue to lie, because lie after lie after lie, you keep forgetting what you're lying about. But I believe the truth always comes out. The darkness will be taken away and the light will come. And it appears that Xavier has gotten himself in a corner. And again, I'm going to say this, Sean. I think he's being controlled by someone to say, lay it down, be cool, say nothing, ignore it. For whatever reason, I don't know. I think, it is to protect the administration that we have in City Hall.
Well,
and he's doing that. Unfortunately, he should have enough insight enough manhood.
There you go, manhood. That's a key word.
Yeah, you know, to say, look, I like you, so and so. I want you to succeed, but I can't stand on a lie. It exists. We can deal with this. It's not a big deal. It's been going on for years. Let's deal with it. We have a rat problem here. Everybody knows in Baltimore City we got a rat problem. So why are we going to deny that? Which means if we have a rat problem in Baltimore City, we got a rat problem in the courthouse. We got a rat problem in our neighborhoods. Why are we denying that?
Yeah, why is that being denied?
It doesn't make sense to deny it. We got a problem. Okay, let's deal with the problem. So what you want to do, Xavier, here's what I'm going to do. And he should just lay it out. I got a contract with these people. They're saying we're going to do this and that. There's work that we got to do, but I got a contract with them.
Exactly.
And we're going to at least solve this problem in the courthouse, because I'm not going to let my people work in these conditions, boy, just to be a man and stand up and say that. And that's not holding anybody else accountable but you. You don't have to say the mayor this or point fingers or whatever. I'm going to do this.
Well,
and so I can't understand. I think this guy has gotten into the simple thing in Baltimore City. You go along to get along.
I think it points to character. I see, here's the thing. At a certain age, you know what's right and you know what's wrong. I think it points to character. And that's why I'm making it. See, this is the thing. Okay. I'm not going to give him as much credence. I'm holding his feet more to the fire because of the information from multiple sources who work at the building about what is going on with the employees regarding retaliation, abuse of power, there's discrimination, sexual harassment, and the like. And this type of thing this points to a person's character, not just a rat infestation situation and lying about it and trying to cover it up, and the Legionnaires, but character. How are you treating behind closed doors where you can't see? Somebody, the lady last week talked about there's ATMs. There's no ATMs in the building unless they're hiding them somewhere in the basement. And the way you treat your employees, the way you treat the public. So you're telling the public, look, I'm not going to let you know about this. As a matter of fact, hey, public who voted for me, hey, you people who went to the voting polls, I'm not going to, whether it's somebody behind it or not, the buck stops here, said Harry Truman, so the buck stops at him in that office. And he decided to be deceptive and not let people know that there are rats infesting the building, that the building is being exterminated. They're attempting to exterminate. They don't know when it's going to be exterminated. And today, I got word that the rats are in the work area of the employees, in the work area. So there's more coming out regarding young Xavier and his serious lack of character and his negligence and what's going on with the work and with the employees. And again, I'm going to point out, there's so much going on within the city. This is a state agency, though. It's not a city government agency. It's a state agency working within the city, within a city building. But it's a state agency. And there's a lot going on. And this guy's character is going to come out.
This is something you can bring to light. Okay, the building is in the city. It is owned by the city, or
yes,
is
it
owned
is.
by the state? Okay, it's owned by the state.
It's a city
so the
building.
city has the responsibility for the operation and maintaining of that building.
Yes, they do.
His position is a state position, however, correct?
And in that state position as an elected official, he can tell Judge Carrion, like Frank would have done. Frank would have told Judge Carrion to go jump in a lake. I'm not going to have my people, even though he can't close the building, he doesn't have the power to close it. Judge Carrion does. He does have the power as the clerk of the court to tell his state employees, you're not going to work because the situation's too dangerous. So for him to come out and say, well, I can't close the building is bull. Bravo, Sierra.
Well,
because he can tell his employees not to work.
Sean, is that so easy to research as to whether or not you can close a building or not? That's why not only there's a character issue, but there is an intellectual issue here. And the lying is obviously there. But I'm telling you, this young man, strings are being pulled by someone because it doesn't make sense. And I'm going to say this, he's in office now. People went to polls and they voted for him. You and I and many others did not. Because I did not like the way in which he ran his campaign and using a well-known name, which was not his birth name.
No.
He did it, okay? So there was an integrity and character
Serious
problem
integrity
right then and
character.
there,
Uh-huh.
right? And
Serious.
so he got in, and he showed his character continued. And the people knew about this. Now, this was known, that he did not use his birth last name. He used a familiar name because that's how Frank, I respected him, but that's how the Conaways operate. And so they used the name to get him in because he wouldn't have gotten in on his last name. Belinda, and I like Belinda, but Belinda, she molded and shaped his campaign for him to win. They want a legacy. The Conaways want a legacy. And they don't care about the people.
Bingo.
And as simple as that. Now, when Belinda, her father encouraged her to run, I didn't care for her the first time. A girlfriend came through when she got used to being a city councilor, she represented us well. But unfortunately, Belinda didn't know how to run a campaign because she was never taught. And here comes Mosby, very slick, very well educated, had people who believed in him, very distinguished, sophisticated young people on the polls and everything. Dropped a dime about, hey, you don't live in Baltimore City, you don't live on a house on Hilton and Liberty. He dropped a dime on all that. Mm-hmm. And she didn't know how to respond to it because she never ran a campaign like she should. But I like her, but that's what happened. That is a reality. Her son, they want a legacy. And I'm telling you, that young man is there without character, without integrity. We have a choice 2 years from now if he does not change his ways. And this is still hanging over his head, and this is where I get upset with the voting population. They don't research.
They don't research.
They just don't. They vote for names.
They don't
this
research.
This is what's been going on, and this is for the people who work there who probably live in Baltimore City. This is a city-wide position. Everybody in that courthouse should be voting against him based on what went down on just this issue alone. Well, that's where you have some power.
Well,
and I understand what Marsha's saying about fear and whatever, but I understand how fear paralyzes people. I understand how fear just makes people feel that, I can't move forward. If I do this, I'll lose this. Hey, you could lose your life, like Marsha was saying.
Well, we have people who don't. We have people who they don't have fear, and they're being cautious. Jason, I'm gonna let you know this. The whistleblower that I was gonna bring to you, I said it earlier. That's not happening. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen, Jason.
Because of the show, right?
Because of the show, and they don't trust him because of what happened.
Don't trust who?
Jason Rodriguez. They do not trust him because of that show.
Them coming forward. Help me out, Sean.
Because
what has Jason got to do with them?
Because of the show. They believe that was a setup. They listened to the questions and said it sounds like those questions were prepared for Xavier Washington, and his answers were prepared. People who listened to the show told me that. This was my opinion.
What difference does that make, Sean? I got to question you. That would make me even more outraged. What difference does that make?
Here's the thing.
That would make me so outraged that they're going to do this, and because they're lying, and I'm telling you, when you have to lie to get your point across, when you have to lie to protect yourself, hey, it's on your side to go against them.
That's what people were telling me. They heard.
And I don't understand them. If you want to use that, that's an excuse, Sean. That's an excuse that they're using.
Well, here's the thing, okay? If you have people who are saying, hey, look, I want to get this information out. They're coming to me. They're coming to some others. It's just not me. The outsiders, the name the outsiders, the reason why it's plural, because it's just not me. You may see me, but I got a crew. So people are coming to me with information, and then they're saying, I'm not going on there. I'm not gonna go on there. They may come out in another manner, in another way, which is fine, and we're gonna figure that out. But off of that, the trust level is gone. No, of course they could. Of course they could. I agree with that. I agree with that. So
there's a lot they can do. I would be so upset that someone's going to put my life, my family, my career in jeopardy because he's owning up to someone else, or he doesn't give a 2 cents about me. He just wants to have a title and continue some legacy for his family.
Exactly.
And that's all that's about.
Exactly. I said that in the beginning.
I would be outraged.
I said that in the beginning, and there are, Mary, there are people, again, they don't want to get fired. They don't want to come out and get retaliated against. But there are people who, like you just said, and they work or have worked or been fired or have worked, and they're outraged at what's going on, and they want to say something about it. And they are, and it will be, folks. There's a lot more coming out. There's a lot more coming out. But what's going on?
It's got to happen. And I'm going to say this, and understand again what Marsha was saying. This is a life and death issue. But I understand, and I've seen it, and the Bible talks about how fear just paralyzes people. And God said, Jesus said, I didn't give you the spirit of fear. I gave you the spirit of power, love, and a disciplined mind. That's what I gave you. You have no need to be afraid of mortal man.
No, you don't.
But if you don't know that, you allow this fear, and we've all been there, where fear has crippled you until you realize the truth about who you are and what you stand for. It will cripple you until you have folks who say, okay, we're not taking this. And it doesn't have to be folks who are experiencing what you're experiencing, but they feel this is wrong. Think about slavery. The Quakers were one of the groups of white folks who came to say, this is wrong. We're standing to abolish slavery. You had abolitionists in the northern states saying, this is wrong. So they joined up with others. And those slaves that were afraid, they came forth. These other people said, this is wrong to treat a human being like this. And once that started happening, then you had others who came on board, slaves and whatever, and they said, okay. And he raised up a Harriet Tubman, a Frederick Douglass. He just raised up people. But you got to realize you got to start somewhere. Someone has to stand. That's why I give you credit. That's why I give any newscaster or journalist person credit. I give Jeff Abel and all these other folks who bring out the truth. And when the truth comes out, it's predicated on us who can do something about it. Nothing more than raise our voices, write letters, make calls and whatever to make this thing open for people to hear and to see. That's what we do.
Well, you have to keep doing it.
Whistleblowers throughout history, they put it on the line. They said, I'm not going to take this. And we have laws that you can't come after a whistleblower.
Well, that law is already done. I believe that Xavier is going to completely ignore those laws as he's ignored other civil rights violations that are allegedly going on down in that circuit court at his hands. And there's fiscal malfeasance, allegedly. That's going to come out. So we're going to be getting in touch with the audit being done. That was done. There was an audit done. There was even an article in the Daily Record. I went over that article, and they missed some things. Ooh, I'm going to have a talk with them. So there's a lot more that's going to be coming out with this kind of way we want to build a dynasty. Put this kid in here, change his name, this Bravo Sierra, and the people fell for it. I think that the election may have been tainted myself. I have my own reasons. But, you know, we're going to see how that's going to go. But this is what I want to do, Mary. I don't know if you have to go, but I have to talk about New Orleans and what happened with that mass murder in New Orleans.
Oh my goodness. You go ahead. I do have to go, but I'm going to say
I want to cover that.
I think this show was very important. I wish Marsh, she probably dropped off, but these phones are so crazy. But I think we have to keep this alive. But you mentioned something, I'm going to say this. The legal end is the way to go. That's the only thing that the city of Baltimore adheres to is a legal suit for a lawyer to come forth and say your constitutional rights have been denied you.
You're working on that.
Because they realize that folks are not going to go that far. We went that far with other things in our community. We went that far with checkers who wanted to bring fast food drive-in through our community, and other things that we went that far in this community. So the legal issue is there, and if someone can come forth and say, okay, I'll take this on, because your constitutional rights are being denied.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Well, we're working on that.
Fight this.
Well, we're working, Mary, we're working on that.
I know you are. And does
Yes.
your show go off at 3?
No, I'm still going to be continuing the record
Okay,
the
but I just
podcast.
want to say what happened in New Orleans and this incident that happened in Vegas is just terrible. But it shows you how much hate is in this world. It shows you how people are looking at things and want to take things into their own hands and do silly things. And there could be, without a doubt, people just have this mental attitude like, you know, this is wrong and this is what I'm going to do about it. And I'm going to say this about Luigi, who killed the CEO of United
Allegedly.
Well,
There hasn't been a trial.
There
hasn't been a trial.
He came from and is part of a very prominent, wealthy family with contacts and influence. What Luigi could have done? He could have used those factors and that character of what I said about him to form a movement to say we're going to Congress because we know that they're part of this. We're going to follow the money. We're going to show you where these insurance companies have hooked up and paid off these U.S. senators and these Congress, and we're going to make changes. That's how you do it.
Well, that would make
Not
sense.
this young man to be put in jail or whatever. He had the influence. He has the money. His family has contacts. This guy had it all going for him, and he chose to go that way. And I know you're going to talk about it, so I'm going to go because I'm going to be driving soon, and I want to listen to your comments.
Well,
and thank you so much, Sean, for having me on. It's been a great show. Thank you.
Okay, Mary, take care. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Okay, darling.
Bye-bye. That was Mary Hughes, and she gave some serious insight. For whatever reason, we lost Marcia. I know Marcia can get very emotional and upset, but because it's a podcast, if you wanted to drop off a few S or F bombs, you could have done it. I wouldn't have a problem with it, considering the situation that these people, and Marcia made a very good point as well about her family. These people go to work. They're made to go into a building that has rats. Rats in the work area. I'm getting information on that just coming in. And they have to go in a building, Legionnaires. The building has not been cleared of Legionnaires. Yet they still have to go in a building, and it can become airborne. This is negligence that's going on the part of the clerk of the court, Xavier Washington. I'm not calling him Conway anymore, period. And to deny that there are even rats when the extermination company says there's rats. There's rats in the building. What is he talking about? Why is he doing it? Why? But we're gonna deep dive this, what's going on in the city rat problem and the issues, and how there are elected officials hiding it and squashing it. And we're going to deep dive the situation that's going on there. And I want to get to what's going on what happened in New Orleans, 3:15, the first day of the year, 3:15 in the morning, and these people get plowed over. I saw the video. It's horrific. I saw a cop car, and I see plenty of sidewalk where a car, truck, whatever, can just go right through, no barriers at all whatsoever. Even the mayor, LaToya Cantrell, who I did a report on about a year or so ago about the trash, a year and a half, I'm trying to remember when, about the trash issue, and they tried to get her recalled. This woman, LaToya Cantrell, the people wanted her out of there. They wanted her recalled, and then some judge on a technicality kept her in. Yeah, it looked like that was a good move, huh? And I'm gonna look back into that as well. But let me go to the press conference. And this guy just plowed these people over. He was an ISIS, looks like he was an ISIS guy, or he was a sympathizer, and he was in the military, and they knew about it. They knew about this guy supporting this terrorist organization. I guess they kept training him so they could be able to kill people. Anyway, let me go ahead and play this. Got 4. There we go.
More of the same, what the governor just said in position. We won't be doing that to provide the information. If you have a quick, different question, then let's do that quickly and move on. Okay?
My question, in an audible fashion. You say there are multiple. Ma'am, hold on, sir. Hold on. Then who was next? We had over here.
Hi, Rachel Wolf with the Wall Street Journal. You said you are confident there are multiple suspects involved. What makes you confident in that?
Well, like, why would we tell you that? Again, again, we want to answer pertinent questions. But anything that would lead to impeding or endangering this investigation is not going to be said, okay? And we will, as information unfolds, this is a very fluid process. And remember something too.
Okay, why are they trying to direct them on how to, or what questions to ask? What are you talking about? Let them ask the question, and then if you can't give them the information, this is normally how a press conference goes. Well, we can't really get into that information right now, but we'll be sure to let you know as we, find out. And then you go to the next question. So why is this guy trying to control the questions that they're asking? Don't like that. I didn't like that at all. Let's go on.
We're doing two things. We're hunting some bad people down.
Hunting some bad people down. This is the governor of Louisiana. Now let's listen to this press conference because this is very interesting and it tells a lot.
And we're securing the city too. We're getting ready for a Sugar Bowl tomorrow. So if y'all would, again, if you have questions regarding Sugar Bowl.
We're getting ready for the Sugar Bowl. Y'all got questions regarding the football game, the Sugar Bowl? Now here, at the time, it was about 10 people murdered, 30 people injured critically. And this man want to talk about the Sugar Bowl. Let me go on.
Sugar Bowl, the safety of the city, or something to that effect. We're happy to answer.
Over here.
Okay, go ahead.
Unbelievable.
Usually in parts of the French Quarter, specifically in parts of Bourbon Street, there are bollards. We're hearing that some of those may have been down because of repairs. Can you speak to that? And maybe was there any backup option of putting a truck there or an NOPD car there?
Well, let me tell you, one, I'm going to let the mayor answer. I want you to know that's one of the first things I thought of this morning when the mayor called me. Okay? And I will.
This is the governor of the state? Good grief. He sounds like a football coach. Let me tell you something. This is what we're going to do. We're going to run a play. The running back's going to come swing around, and we're going to do a misdirection. Let me go on, because this is what it sounds like to me with this press conference.
Will tell you that whatever the problem was is going to be solved.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor.
What do you mean? Whatever the problem was, it's going to be solved. So what was the problem? Let's find out what the problem. What was the problem?
And thank you for the question. I do understand that it's been on your radar since this morning. As it relates to the bollards on Bourbon Street, over 10
bollards. This word you gotta. I've heard a lot. Bollards. So in relation to the bollards, they're like barriers to help to block an area off. Okay, that's what they call it in New Orleans, Louisiana. They call them bollards. So this is what LaToya Cantrell, Bulldog Mayor, Bulldog Dumbbell. These people were killed because of these people. I mean, come on. You don't have proper barriers along this way. It's New Year's Eve. You know there are terror threats out there, and these people just walk around, nothing to protect them, except they get caught. But let me go on. You got to hear this,
years ago, excuse me. Okay, over 10 years ago, the city of New Orleans implemented an infrastructure project placing bollards on Bourbon Street. Shortly thereafter, the malfunctions of those bollards ensued.
So let me get this straight. You put bollards on New Orleans Street, on Bourbon Street, and they malfunctioned. Didn't you make sure the bollards were, operational before you put them out? Because they shortly after malfunctioned, you didn't test them? What are you talking about? This is a cluster F. Let's go on.
Mardi Gras beads online.
What a night. She talking about Mardi Gras beads. Go on.
Down. But the New Orleans Police Department, of course, deemed them inefficient because...
Okay, so they're malfunction and inefficient. Let's go on.
They did not operate the way that they were intended to do.
Yeah, okay, that's usually what a malfunction means. They didn't operate in the way. This is Latoya Cantrell, the mayor of New Orleans, that they wanted to get rid of on a recall. And on some kind of technicality, this bubblehead is mayor. Listen to bubblehead continue this. I was outraged when I heard what she was, how she was explaining what she was saying. Let's go on.
Because the city of New Orleans is hosting Super Bowl.
Now it's the Super Bowl. You moved from the Sugar Bowl. Now it's, well, we hosting the Super Bowl, and they are. Let's go on.
Here, it gave the city of New Orleans an opportunity to go further and deeper with infrastructure improvements, as we've been talking about. So as a result of that, we were able to build in bollard replacement into our Super Bowl infrastructure package.
Okay, so the Super Bowl infrastructure package. We got a package because we got the Super Bowl coming. So we got to put together a package of bollards and protection and barriers. Okay? You got it? Let's go. We got to put the protection in the Super Bowl. We have the Super Bowl coming.
And because of that, the city of New Orleans has moved forward with that infrastructure.
Now, here we go. Because of that, the city of New Orleans has moved forward with that infrastructure. Let's go on.
That is nearing completion.
No, well, the infrastructure. I'm dissecting this because you got to get it, people. The infrastructure is nearing. It's not complete. It's nearing completion. Let's go on.
Bollards were not up because they are near completion.
The bollards are not up because, wait, stop. Latoya, listen here. What did you just say? You just say the bollards were not up because you were trying to fix things up with your package infrastructure for the Super Bowl, so you didn't put the bollards up for New Year's Eve, when the possible terrorist attack is on high alert, and they weren't ready because of the Super Bowl. Was this it? Let me go on.
With the expectation of being completed, of course, by Super Bowl.
Okay, we're not talking about the daggone Super Bowl. So they had an expectation of not having the ballots and the infrastructure being in place, not prior to New Year's Eve, when you have a high terrorist watch, but prior to the Super Bowl, which you also have a high terrorist watch. But they weren't focused on New Year's Eve. This is what you just said. Their focus was on the Super Bowl. So it was okay not to have the ballots and the protection for the people on New Year's Eve. You can't make this up. John Grisham couldn't write this. Let me go on.
Way before Super Bowl. But that is the reason. Now, the New Orleans Police Department and Chief, you can...
And then she just glossed over it. That's it. That's the reason. You know, we didn't have everything ready because we were focusing on the Super Bowl. That's it. Let's move on. Nothing to see here.
Speak to the deployment to respond to our needs and existing conditions.
All right, so we have been aware of the bollard situation for a long time, and we did indeed harden those.
Now, this is the chief of police. She looks like, oh boy, the chief of police looks like a librarian. They brought this ready to retire, who just retired. This is the chief of police. Now listen to this.
Target areas where the bollards are. We have patrol cars out there as a hard target, as well as...
We had patrol cars out there as a hard target. So the patrol cars were the hard target? Let me move. Look. Oh, let me go on.
With barriers. Now I want to share with y'all, if you did not know, that this particular terrorist drove around onto the sidewalk.
Stop. Let me get this straight. Oh my goodness, he outsmarted the New Orleans Police Department because he did something that no terrorist, he outsmarted us. And when we put the police vehicle in the way as a block, as a hard target, this terrorist had enough brain power between his ears to figure out to go around the police vehicle up on the sidewalk. It's about 8 inches high. How in the hell did he have that kind of intelligence? Let me go on.
And got around the hard target, where he did have a car there, we had barriers there, we had officers there.
Now I saw the picture. There were no barriers there. When that guy went and turned in, there were no barriers. Zilch, nada. There was a car, a police car, and there was like, I don't know, 30 feet of sidewalk. Plenty of area you could have drove a Mack truck into that. Plenty of it. And he drove a truck easily. So we had barriers. Again, bravo Sierra.
And they still got around. Now.
And somehow they managed to still get around and go up on the sidewalk and murder 15 people and critically injure 30. Hmm?
The wedges that you see out there as well, we knew that had malfunction problems. And I want you to understand.
Then we got another malfunction problem. This is a lot of malfunctioning, folks. We got another malfunction.
And let's say we put the wedge up and it got stuck. There is no way that ambulance could get in or out. People couldn't get in and out. So we knew that these were malfunction. So we did indeed have a plan, but the terrorist defeated it.
So let me get this straight. The terrorists, it's terrorists, not terrorists. He defeated our plan. We came up with a brilliant plan. He defeated it. Wait till you hear the questions from the reporters. Let me finish out with this.
Let me just say this.
Uh-oh.
We recognize we got a problem right here, right?
He's back.
We're going to fix it. It is going to be a top priority as we go into the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras. So we brought some additional resources.
Jesse Kirsch with NBC News. Thank you for holding this press briefing. I just want to clarify something first. We were just talking about bollards that are being repaired. Talk about a lift gate that are replaced and then a lift gate that's not been working. Was there a vehicle in place of that lift gate last night? Were there things in place of those bollards which are being repaired?
Sure, the chief spoke to the plan in place, and that is yes.
That was indeed.
So anything that is currently in the midst of being repaired had a backup replacement.
It had.
Now, reporters asking, look, all this stuff is being repaired. Did you have backup, replacement? They had barriers there? Or the barriers, that's the bollards in the cars, the hard target. Is that it, all you had? This is the question the reporter's asking.
Vehicles and officers were there where all of those bollards had been. We had that.
Okay, so where all the bollards had been, there were officers, and there was one car I saw at that location. They were there in place of the bollards. Mm-hmm.
New. So we did have it. And like I said, in this particular case, terrorists just went all the way around up onto the sidewalk.
Oh my goodness. He went around the car. He had enough sense not to drive into our hard target, the vehicle, and went up to the sidewalk. Can you believe this? This is your police chief? This is your mayor? Guess who's not going to New Orleans anytime soon? Guess. Just take one guess.
What about the lift gate? Was there a vehicle backing in and out to block that lift gate area, or was that just down and open? Because that's what we've heard from witnesses.
Chief, Captain.
Okay, now here comes the captain of the district. This is a big black guy. He's the captain of the district. Now listen to the question. Listen to what he says, and listen to the question from the reporter. This is wow.
The reason I'm calling the captain, he's the captain over that district, and that is a question I'm going to let him address for you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Captain LaJean Roberts of the 8th District. Yes, we did have a vehicle strategically placed right in front of the...
Now notice he used the word to try to be impressive, strategically. He's the first one to use that word, strategery. That's Bush's word, strategery. Strategically placed. One vehicle. Let's go.
The wedge, preventing access onto the roadway.
And in terms of the framework of security that was already in place on Bourbon Street, I know this is an ongoing project of improvement, but with how that was all aligned, was someone getting up on a sidewalk considered impossible or nearly impossible, or was this not something you expected you would have to account for?
Yeah, a great question. Someone getting up, did you consider, since you had the vehicle and then you had the sidewalk with nothing there, did you consider that somebody driving up on a sidewalk about 8 inches high would be impossible to do? Now, he's being a smart ass, but he's right. Did you consider that that would be impossible to do? That's why you didn't have anything there? Or you just didn't really think of it at all, that, hey, nobody would think of doing that?
Yes, of course, it wasn't something we expected to account for.
So let me get this straight. This is the captain of the 8th district. Well, we didn't account for somebody going around our vehicle, and running up on the sidewalk. That 8 inches, we thought that would deter anybody doing anything, and we couldn't believe that we were outsmarted. Let's go on, and I'm getting ready to finish up. This is ridiculous.
The bollards they're actually wedges. They're strategically placed 5 locations throughout the French Quarter.
Now he's talking about other locations. Hey, genius, why don't we focus on the location where the mass murder took place and stop trying to deflect on other locations throughout the city? Why don't we focus on this one location where you had these ballards and wedges? Now, I'm ready to finish up this complete cluster F in New Orleans. The attorneys are lining up because the lawsuits, they are coming, baby. They are coming.
On the roadway, this particular terrorist drove onto the sidewalk behind the police car to gain access to the 100 block of Bourbon Street.
So if you're worried about someone ever driving...
Sound like his voice started cracking a little bit. I don't want to talk about Bourbon Street. Because he knows it's full of crap. And it's massive negligence on the part of the New Orleans Police Department and the mayor. Let's move on. And the attorneys, like I said, whoo, they're going to be like chunks of fish for the crocodiles. And you throw them chunks over. And those crocodiles just, rawr, that's what this is. And I'm going to end this right now.
Down Bourbon Street. Why are you...
Okay, that's enough. We're going to deep dive what's going on. I'm going to look into this New Orleans thing, what's business. And then you had a Tesla blowing up. Boom. Dumbbell put the explosive in the Tesla. And what did Elon Musk call the person? Knucklehead. Because the Tesla, the explosion didn't go out. It just went straight up. Didn't even break the glass. The person inside died and several people were injured around the vehicle. And you got this craziness going on. They have a mass shooting in a club in Queens, in New York. I believe a mass shooting. That just took place. So maybe these sleeper cells are being activated. And the guy who plowed into these people, he's from Houston. He's from Beaumont, Texas, originally. U.S. citizen, born and raised. And he's the one who they have as committing this heinous act. And he's gone now because they took him out. So you got sleeper cells. It looks like they're being waking up. Yeah, y'all better get your concealed carry and start looking out for yourself. Stop depending on the police. In Baltimore, you hardly have any. You make calls and they tell you, we don't have enough police. Nobody's coming out. Oh, I've got that from a friend. Told me, oh yeah, they said they're not coming out. Because Brandon defund the police and you don't have enough police. So it looks like baby, you on your own. And it's getting ready to come down 2025. Happy New Year. Take care of yourself. God bless. And hopefully, barring a rapture, I wouldn't, or something else. God willing, the Outsiders will be back and we do what we only do. Chew bubble gum and kick ass because we're all out of bubble gum. God bless. Goodbye.